Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the REDX podcast. I am so glad that you're here today. We have a wonderful first-time guest on the podcast. We have Kimberly Augustine from Houston, Texas with us. Welcome, Kimberly.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So we're so excited. We had a great chat pre-show, so I'm excited to just keep that rolling into the show today. For everybody that is tuning in, I just want to say people are coming in live. If you have any questions for Kimberly as we're talking today, feel free to chat them in. This is a participatory event. We want to hear your questions if you have any for her today. Also, if you're not already, you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Or you can go to redx.com/podcast, enter your email, and we'll email you reminders every time we have new podcast episodes. All right, now that that's out of the way, Kimberly, please, will you tell us a little introduction, who you are, for people that don't know you?
Absolutely. Again, like I said, Haley, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be with you today. I'm homegrown native Houstonian out of Houston, Texas. I absolutely love it here. I've been doing real estate now for about 15 years with a real focus within the last 5 years, leaving corporate America and giving it my all. So I love it for the past 5 years. I absolutely love it. And that's it, because people didn't come here to find out about me. They want to know the goods, right? They want to know what is she doing? What's her success with REDX?
Well, I'm curious a little bit of so you went full time 5 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
what made you want to make that jump? I know a lot of people work part-time. So what was that about?
So new life, new love. Husband absolutely adored me and just gave me that encouragement. Didn't like the way I was coming home from corporate America every day. Even though I was so accustomed to the regular 9 to 5, right? The not really paying attention to the extensive hours, the overtime, and just really was in the day-to-day grind. But the more intricate those pieces became and harder, when someone loves you and they see you really going through, they want to make or find something that helps you, to do something different. So he challenged me. And of course, I rose to the challenge, and I absolutely love it. I don't regret leaving corporate America, not one bit. And we haven't skipped a beat. We are able to travel. We are able to, it's definitely different, right? Working for yourself, because you still have to have that same drive. And sometimes it's hard to do. But I think when you really know your purpose, you set goals, you're able to challenge yourself to rise for you every day. So yeah, we love it. And yeah, I'm grateful.
That's amazing. You had a supportive partner that helped push you. We need that sometimes, like sometimes we won't do it for ourselves, but somebody, if they're pushing us, will do it. So
Absolutely.
I love that. That's amazing. So tell me about were you just doing basically referrals when you were part-time and you weren't doing a lot of active lead generating, or what did that look like?
Yeah, so part-time, right? I really didn't even know. Really and truly, I got into real estate because I wanted to take my kids on extravagant vacations.
I love that.
To be truthful, I wanted to take them on vacations where we weren't penny pitching and I wasn't trying to max out a credit card. And so that's where that income came from. And I was really excited. So, and even my kids, they were just like, okay, where we're going this year? Like, what's up, Mom?
Oh, yeah.
So it was just a referral base. Absolutely. I didn't really know what lead generation was. I didn't really know what, how to look for business, how to go about getting business. You pick up tips and tricks here and there, but it was truly from a referral base.
Nice. So then when you went full time, because I know you work FSBOs, so spoiler alert, everybody, we're going to talk about FSBOs. But did you start when you went full time? That's when you got into FSBOs, and you started needing to be a little bit more proactive with your business, or so tell me about that transition of what you did differently.
Yes. So when I went into it full time, it was up hitting the grind and cold calling. That was it. It was knowing that income wasn't going to be there at the 1st or the 15th or the 30th. And now what are you going to do to generate income? What are you going to do to get in front of clients? And the broker that I was with, she told me, if you don't list, you won't last. So I'm like, okay, going after listings. People know me, they love me. I'm learning how to brand myself and put myself out there. But if you're waiting on people to refer business to you, you could just be waiting, right? So
Right.
I got in front of my desk, was there every morning at 8 o'clock sharp, going through my list, trying to, and I really didn't even have a plan. Another young lady in the office with me, I'm going to throw her name out there. She's probably going to kill me, but her name is Delilah Juarez. She gave me scripts and she was just like, oh, you're not afraid to cold call? Here, I tried it, but I didn't like it. And so she gave me all of these scripts and I went through them. And of course, I just wanted to get into it, right? So I didn't even really read the scripts, just kind of BSing through it and got on the phone. And people were taking advantage of me left and right. Girl, we were going out. We went out and cleaned a family's garage. I had my husband and my son at the time. The last one, he was out cleaning a client's garage because I knew that I was going to get the listing. So clean the garage, got their home ready, and they didn't list it with me. So there you go.
No commission. That is so sad.
No commission. I was ready to get my church family to come out and help this family. I was just so into it. I'm like, oh, they need help. Oh, then the wife is sick. This is and my husband, he was just like, okay, where's the contract? He kept asking me, where's the contract, babe? Where's the contract? I'm like, oh, they're gonna sign it tomorrow. They're gonna sign it tomorrow.
You're just doing community service out there. You're just
exactly. And that's what it was. That's what it was. So I'm just letting you know, when you really don't, when you don't put the work behind it and you want to just thrust yourself into calling, you could really be setting yourself up for just some nonsense. So I definitely went through some nonsense, but through that, I've cultivated a partnership with REDX that I absolutely adore. It's one of the most inexpensive tools that I've ever used that's really allowed me to catapult my business and stay thriving, so to speak. So I'm really grateful. Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you for saying that. I'm wondering too, because a lot of people that we hear, a lot of our customers, they are too afraid to pick up the phone, but you actually had the opposite problem. You were just like, let's go, let's figure it out. And you figured it out on your way. So I feel like one that is a strength that you just said, maybe you found some hiccups along the way with needing to sign contracts, but you just got on the phone and started. Instead, like some people don't even start. Like they are just, FSBOs are scary, right? They're arrogant and they think that they can do this on their own, whatever. And I don't want to talk to them. So they don't even get on the phone. But I love that you just pick up the phone and you go. I think maybe that's some good advice for people who focus too much on the scripts or focus too much on the things before that and don't actually pick up the phone, right?
Right.
I love it. Awesome. Okay, so
you want to be paralyzed. You need to, get into action, get into production for sure.
Yes, I love that. That's a good. Don't want to be paralyzed. Production.
That's
beautiful. So tell me why, because you said that you just started calling. Why for sale by owners? Did you try other things too, or you were just like, I'm a FSBO girl. I'm just gonna go.
You know what? Really, like I said, just out of the arrogance in my own mind, just I'm gonna call. And FSBOs, right? People think cold calling. These are people that they haven't raised their hand for support or assistance. But a FSBO really truly has, right? They've put their home out on the market. They are engaged in a real estate transaction, so to speak. They have an idea. So their hand is semi-raised. Now, whether they want to work with an agent or not, you don't know if that truly exists until you make the connection, but it's one that's already open for engagement. And so that's kind of really why I went after FSBOs. And I've never really done anything else.
Awesome. Yeah, I think what is interesting is, especially when you go from part-time to full-time like you did, you kind of need now business, right? And that's why FSBOs are so great, because they are looking to sell their house right now. And that is something like you always want to be adding to your CRM, adding and nurturing your database, things like your sphere of influence and stuff. But if you want business now, especially with like the market right now and things are kind of crazy, if you want business right now, FSBOs is one of the best ways to get that right now. So I'm curious because it is a popular lead type, like people like to call FSBOs, right? How do you stand out when you're prospecting these FSBOs?
So for me, I challenge myself daily so my goal, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays are basically to identify the problem, right? A lot of people are immediately calling the FSBOs trying to get the business, or they have their VAs calling and saying, hey, we'd like to schedule an appointment. But without really understanding what the client's needs are, you're failing yourself right off the gate. Because you could be calling it a seasoned investor that really knows the tricks and trades of selling a property, right? Or, so if you really don't, the devil is in the details. I take a little bit more time because I research the property before calling it. So the night before my calls, I'm actually putting my list together. I'm identifying if I can find it on social media anywhere, if I can find it online. And then what do those pictures look like? So when I call them, I'm not picking them apart so much, but I am using what I've found to engage them more and give them ideas. So my goal is to truly be a resource, right? And get that next piece of information. And the information I'm looking for is, why are you selling? What's your pain point? And then as real estate agents, we know that we are problem solvers. So when I can find their pain point, I can use my book, my resource, my database, whether that's other agents that have been in the industry, if it's probate, if it's, divorce, whatever that looks like, I have that intel, and now I can do the research and engage them from that perspective.
I love that, because I think as long as you know your audience, right? I think talking about pain points, I love that, because if you have someone on the phone that you're talking to, you might not even be speaking their language if you don't know their situation, what's going on, who they are. But if you know their pain points and you specifically target those and talk about those, I think a FSBO will resonate with that. They'll know that, like, oh, this person understands where, like, FSBO pain points are. Okay. And then aren't they more likely to hire you because of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just like I said, don't be so, if I could tell an agent anything, don't be so gung-ho to just rush in and ask for the business. Because it could be business that you don't want. I remember I was cleaning a garage and I never even got the business. So you just want to, the more you know, the more successful I think your chances are of actually pulling them from that pool and separating yourself from other agents to show the resident professional.
So do you follow a script? Do you talk me through that?
So I used to, right? And I tell
Yeah.
agents, I tell agents now that Denzel Washington, when he goes in, they're not asking him to read a script, right? They're calling him and saying, Denzel, we have a part for you. So I think that when you learn your scripts and you know the market, you're able to pivot. If they hit you with something different, you're able to then pivot and go to the next conversation. You really want them talking. You don't want to, it's not about giving a resume about yourself. It's more so understanding their need and then attacking those. And then ultimately, like I said, if you let me in your home, I'm with a huge group called Agent First Group out of Dallas with Jaime Resendez, right? So we talk about this all the time. And one of the agents in there, his name is Franco, he says, listen, if they let me in the house, I need to eat. I'm not leaving without that listing. So if I get the appointment and I'm a shoe-in, I literally travel there with my lockbox and my sign in the trunk of my car, because I'm putting it on the step when I walk in, because my ultimate goal is to leave with that listing. I've spent time talking to you over the phone. We've emailed back and forth. Now you've invited me into your home. There's no reason for me to leave without the listing.
I love that too, because you're assuming the sale, right?
That's it.
And that's got to bring in confidence too to the appointment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You only walk as tall as you feel. So let's get it.
Yeah. I like that. How do you make sure that you secure the appointment? Because I know, I mean, there are so many common objections with for sale by owners, right? Like, will you lower your commission or things like that? What do you say or how do you overcome that when talking to for sale by owners?
You know what? You definitely get it a lot, right? So when we engage and we're talking about the commission, let me understand why you need to lower the commission. Let's look at it from a perspective. Have we really run the numbers to see what your return is before we start deducting? I don't want to deduct from the services that you're going to receive. And I really have an outline of where I'm promoting and producing, and I have a hard copy for them to see. So they can actually see the entire blueprint of where we're going to engage their property, their listings, how we're going to promote it, the material that it takes. So I'm not looking at them to neglect or to take away from my income, right? Because at the end of the day, if they've done their pieces, they're going to get the return that they're looking for.
Hmm.
And I just kind of make certain that I focus on that as opposed to my commission.
Right. Yeah. Because if you just talk about, oh, yeah, 6% or whatever the percentage is, then they're going to be like, let's lower that. But if you're
Right.
focusing on the value that you bring and the fact that they're going to net the same amount of money, right? Whether, because we know the stats, right? Usually, if you use a agent, you're going to make more money. And if they know that, they can make an educated decision and also see, like, I like the things that you provide them to see everything that you're going to do for them. Because I mean, how would they not hire you if they see everything that you're going to do? Because I think a lot of for sale by owners are like, look at everything I can do on my own. And then they see what all goes into it. And they're like, oh, actually, that seems like a lot.
Absolutely. I think, like I said, once you engage them, when you find out who you're really speaking to,
Yeah.
um, and you're not allowing them to push you around, you take control of the call, and then you lead them. It's always leading. You're not pulling, but you're leading them. You're engaging them with certain questions that you already kind of know the answer to, right? Other than the true reason for the sale. And then the rest is history. And I really need to do a better job of, I'm really lazy when it comes to my FSBOs because once I get a certain number out, Haley, I stop calling. I'm like, oh, okay, I got enough. Let me stop.
Well, it's good because there's that you can do that because for sale by owners are so ready to sell their house. And I love that because right now, I mean, I see people on Facebook groups and I talk to agents who are like, I don't know where my next deal is coming from. I like, it's kind of a crazy market right now and it's not as easy to come by listings as maybe it was a couple years ago, a few years ago, several years ago, right? And you've been in the business for 15 years, so you've seen different markets, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me like how you've navigated that. I mean, do you just call more FSBOs when you need more business? And then like what does that
That's
look
it.
like for you?
Honestly, I'm like, okay, my last listing is gone. I don't have, my buyers are credit, their credit is a little shoddy. I need to put them in a repair program. And so I'm back to FSBOs, right? I'm back to calling and the grind is, hey, listen, by the end of the month, you need to have 4 listings. You need to have at least 3 of them in the pipeline. Identify if they're going to be ready within 3 to 6 months. What does your follow-up look like with that? And so generally speaking, my goal is like every quarter at least 3 to 4. So I hit it hot and heavy. But one listing out of there and I'm done. Really, it pays for itself. I'm like, okay.
I love it because too, I mean, that's why people like they call for sale banners. They also call expireds, like things like that, because it is now business, right? Like we talked about. And you can just pick up the phone and get an appointment and you have a listing really quickly. I think But a lot of people are afraid to do that. They're afraid to pick up the phone. They're afraid to call strangers. Cold calling can be really scary. And so I love that your mindset is just, I need business. I gotta call, because a lot of people aren't even willing to do that. They're not even willing, like they're like, I need business, but oh man, my sphere of influence, nobody wants to sell or whatever.
Right.
But like you said, it pays for itself after you get one listing. I think REDX, I mean, I work for REDX, but I think it's a very affordable option to find thousands and thousands of dollars of commissions. I think it's a
Absolutely.
no-brainer for people, right? I want people to be successful in their business, and not that it should be the only way to have success, but it should definitely be a lead generation source. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you use the words fearful, you use the words afraid, but at the end of the day, what fears you most, right? What are you afraid of most? Are you afraid of not having enough ends at the end of your month?
mm,
That would terrify me, right? That would, if if I'm paying my bills off of credit cards, right? And then I mean, I'm getting nervous and my words are jumbling up just thinking about it. So what
yeah.
am I fearful of most? Am I fearful of failing my family, or am I fearful of calling the person that's wanting and trying to sell their home and just
Mm,
picking their brain to see what the deal is? And that doesn't fear me. There is no fear behind that whatsoever, because again, when you think of yourself as a resource, with humility, because you're offering support at the end of the day. Listen, you're trying to sell your home. I just want to help you. I want to give you a resource. Right now, builders are giving $25,000 to $30,000 in incentive for you to come to a new build. Now, how does a for sale by owner compete with that? So my challenge is to find out what their pain point is and then offer them solutions to even partner with some of my lender partners. Let's see if we can get some incentives. Let's see what it looks like if you're giving, that 2-1 buyback. So it just, it's a conversation. And that's why I say know your market, know your resources, take time to speak with your lenders so you have an understanding of what kind of products they have so that you can be a full a gambit of tools for that expired. Even with expires in my mindset, even though I don't call them, in my mindset, now I've got to engage them in a level where the other agent has failed them, right? So now
mm,
how am I shining and getting that bad taste out of their mouth because the house didn't sell for 60, 90, 120 days? So what am I going to do differently? So again, it's, in humility, offering service and support and getting beyond those broken pieces.
mm. I love that. Tell me, do you know some of your numbers for for sale by owners, like anything like how many calls it takes for you to get an appointment, or how many appointments you close, or things like that, of just how much success you've had with for sale by owners?
So with my for sale by owners, I've closed every last one of them. Last year
Mm,
alone, or even this year, I have two right now currently on the market. I took on um, a really funny story. Called a guy, he was an investor. He wanted me to dumb down my numbers. And I'm like, no. I mean, you're listing this house at 400 and some odd $1,000. I'm not going to shortchange myself to take your listing, and it's crappy at best. So you need to come on. So, I mean, just sharing with him, um, I was able to get not just that listing that I called on, but he had another listing across the street. I took that listing, and then he had another listing in another community on the other side of town, and I took that listing. Now, that was one phone call, and it
mm,
turned around and it gave me 3 transactions. Well, it actually gave me 5 transactions because 2 of them I was able to do dual agency for. So it's the I typically only make 25 calls. I don't pressure myself to do, like I said, I make calls on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and 25 calls are my max. Sometimes when I don't have anything else to do, of course, I'll continue, but
mhm.
I've done the research the nights before, so I'm not I'm not prepared to even do more. So I set that tone for myself before I even get started.
Mm,
And so
nice.
yeah, that's it. Just it's really having a true understanding of working the mechanics on what you're doing and how you do it. You don't have to go in and make 100 phone calls. be realistic with your numbers, but also know what you're doing when you're calling. Don't call on a listing that's already sold, you know?
Yeah, I think also conversion rates will differ, especially like how you were talking about how you've kind of internalized your script now and it's just part of who you are. I think if you're just starting out, maybe you won't have as good of a conversion rate because your script isn't as good or you sound like a robot at first, which is okay cuz you're new at it. Um but that just means you just make a few more calls, right? Or
Absolutely.
if your conversion rate is really really great, I mean it changes per area as well, right? And so but knowing your numbers, even if I knew, okay, 25 calls gets me one appointment or gets me two appointments and I close like, I mean, you close all your appointments, but maybe you close like 50% or whatever. Then you know exactly how many you need to call in order to get to your goal. So I like that. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
Go ahead. Did I cut you off?
No, I was just gonna say for even for a newbie just starting out, don't look at the conversion, right? Don't look at how many appointments you're able to set. Realistically, look at how many calls. Set goals for a number of calls. Because if you're
Central.
fearful or if you're not really, the more you call, the less robotic you sound. The easier it becomes for you to pivot in your conversation. And so, you know, it may take you 1,000 calls. For me, in cold calling, it takes me, I have to have 1,081 conversations per year to hit my numbers of 20, well, it's 18 listings, but 26 transactions, right?
Mm.
So I need to have 1,081 conversations. But for a brand new agent that really doesn't have the mechanics down, doesn't really know how to go through a full conversation and explain or express or even get to that portion. Maybe your goal would be, you know, for the month of December, I'm going to make 500. Well, no, 500 is unrealistic, just 100 calls. Realistically, that's what you want to do. You don't want to set unrealistic goals because when you set even small goals, just the first day, I'm going to make 10 calls. And when you see that you've gotten through those 10, then tackle 10 more. But don't make unrealistic goals because you fail yourself miserably and then you don't want to go back to the challenge. So
Right.
make small goals that you can hit, that you can knock down, and it'll allow you to go back. Repetition is key, guys.
Hmm. And I think that also helps with when you're too afraid to do something. If you just set like 10 calls might not seem like a ton and you can do that. Like, oh, that seems manageable. But if you're like, oh, I'm going to do 500 this month, that seems unattainable and you're not going to do it and you're going to feel crappy about yourself because you didn't accomplish your insane goal, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The smaller the number when you're first starting out, the better chances that you're going to show up and show out the next day. So remember that. Just 5 calls today. My goal is my magic number is 5. My magic number is 4. My magic number, you know, and then hit that. And once you hit it, I'm telling you, it just feels good. Ring a bell if you need to. Like, you
Mm.
know, just come on, celebrate yourself. Look in the mirror and smile and say, oh, you know what? Hey, it wasn't that bad. I did it.
I know, especially if you're like leaving a 9 to 5 where you have somebody that is there to like look at what you're doing or tell you what to do or like give you praise for the accomplishments you're doing. You don't really have that. And so if you need to fulfill that for yourself and make sure that you're doing the things you need to do, but that you also celebrate the wins. I love that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I used to, when I first started out, I actually used to have a mirror attached to the side of my computer because I was getting hung up on. I was getting cursed out. I was like, "Why are these people so angry with me? They need to sell their home. Like I'm just trying to help." But I put a mirror on the side of my computer so that I would be looking at myself because I love to have a good time. I love to smile, so I'm
Mm.
laughing and looking at myself, and it's just a conversation at the end of
I love that. Well, I don't know how, but somehow we reached the end of our time here, Kim. This has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming and sharing a little bit about you, about your business, how you've been successful. Is there any last words, last bit of advice that you can give our audience today before we sign off?
You know what? Again, thank you so much for having me. This has been fun. It's like talking to my big sister. I really appreciate you. This was so good. I've
It's
enjoyed it,
fun.
guys. She's cute. I mean, offline we've been killing it. So, but no, remember, guys, what you do today determines what you make 30 days from today. So, give it your all. Let's win. Let's win big, and let's win often. Let's do it. Come on, let's go.
I love that. You heard it here first, folks. Thank you so much again, Kim. It's been so nice to chat with you. To the people that are watching this or listening to this afterwards, thanks so much for tuning in. Of course, we are here every Thursday at 1:30 Mountain Time. That is 3:30 Eastern Time. We'll be here next week. So if you, again, want to subscribe, you can go to redx.com/podcast. We also have a special offer for you there if you want to save some money on REDX, or for sale by owners. Is the stuff that we're talking about today. And that is it. Thanks again, Kim, and we will see everybody next week.
Bye, guys.